As the government reopens and federal employees start getting paid again, we're looking at how the Trump administration is trying to tamp down on federal agencies and their payrolls after jobs and salaries skyrocketed during the Biden administration. Joining us to discuss this is OpenTheBook.com's Deputy Public Policy Editor, Rachel O'Brien. Happy Friday to you. Friday pay for some folks. Speaking of payday, right? You compared the fiscal year 2020 payroll to the fiscal year 2024 payroll. What did you find when you did that?
So we found that staff headcount in federal agencies only increased by about 5% over those 4 years, but payroll costs rose 25%. So this is all federal agencies plus the Department of Defense and the U.S. Postal Service. So it doesn't include judicial branch employees, Congress and their staff. It doesn't include the 1.3 million active duty military members, just civilian DOD employees. It doesn't include the Office of the Vice President. They refused to give us their payroll. So in most cases, when we looked at agencies, we saw that even when some of them did decrease their headcount, they still increased their total pay for that agency. For instance, Social Security and Department of Commerce, they both lost, Social Security lost 4% of staff, Commerce lost 8% of staff, but their payroll still increased 11% for Social Security, 13% for Commerce. Homeland Security, they increased their staff by 6%, but their payroll went up 26%. Transportation, they grew by only 3%, but their payroll rose by 19%. So there's obviously, people are getting paid a lot more than they were just 4 years ago.
So put it into dollar figures. I mean, again, this is during the Biden administration. We're talking about the average pay that increased significantly. How much?
Yeah, so when we looked at 127 executive agencies plus the White House, all but 10 of them now have an average pay over $100,000. At least 20 of the federal agencies have an average pay of $150,000. In the last year, we looked at fiscal year 24, over 31,000 federal employees out-earned the highest paid governor in the country, New York's Kathy Hochul. She makes $255,000, $250,000. 31,000 federal employees made more than her.
Wow.
You have several federal agencies where the average payroll just is amazingly high. The CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, they make an average of $236,000 there. So the pay has just gone up and up in these agencies.
And there's also a lot of transparency issues because, again, as you looked at the payrolls from the Biden administration, you saw plenty of names redacted, correct?
Yeah, more redactions than we've ever seen. So the entire Department of Defense civilian payroll, they redacted all 761,000 names. There was another 383,000 names that were redacted in 58 federal agencies. So that adds up to 1.1 million names redacted. It's almost 40% of all federal staff. Their names were redacted. And it's a 33,000 person increase from when we got the payroll for fiscal year 2020. So they're redacting more people than ever. Now, many of these are investigative and law enforcement roles in agencies like Homeland Security, Justice, Treasury, the VA. They account for about 90% of redactions. You can sort of understand if you're law enforcement, especially if you're, ICE, you may be targeted, you don't want to have people's names. There are still dozens of additional agencies that redacted names. Things like the Office of National Drug Control Policy, the Department of Labor, Agriculture, Transportation, HHS, Department of Interior, they all have at least 1,000 names each redacted. And so, as the federal headcount and payroll grow, we're seeing that transparency is actually decreasing when it should really be increasing.
All right, I'm going to come on this. Deputy Public Policy Editor for OpenTheBooks.com, Rachel O'Brien. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
You too. Thanks for having me, Jen.